Welcome back, guys. We are so excited to be able to sit down with you guys for another exciting episode. We are Melissa.
And I'm Jill.
And we are the hosts of Paranormal Activity Podcast. Today we have the honor of celebrity psychic Richard-Lael Lillard, who is also known as the Gentleman Psychic. You may recognize Richard-Lael from the Ghost Adventures episode, Pasadena Ritual House. Ever since he was a young boy, he was clairvoyant, as it's known to run in his family for many generations. He has traveled across the United States and Europe on a mystic tour, learning, teaching, and growing. He believes that together we can build a brighter future. He aims to create a better tomorrow by understanding the past and the present. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Richard-Lael.
I am honored. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Let's begin with discussing how you began to be clairvoyant at such a young age. Do you remember how old you were and what your first signs were?
I do. Okay. So, there were other little signs of things that I would just know, as a kid. But the first real sort of major one that happened was when I was 4. My father came down with Guillain-Barré, which is French polio. And he went into a coma. He actually, I've got a story about that one I'll tell you after. He slipped away and died. He came back. He slipped away and died. But he was in a coma, and everyone at the time was asking me, well, at the time it was Richie, Richie, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, my daddy is coming home for my birthday. And they would go, oh, bless, which is Southernese for you dumb kid. Right? So I said, no, my daddy's coming home for my birthday. Well, he died and then came back. And that's a funny story I'll tell you. But he came home the day and the night before my birthday. And he was in a wheelchair at this point. He ended up by walking again, but he was in a wheelchair. And my mother said, well, honey, you got what you wanted. Your daddy came home for your birthday. Aren't you excited? And I was coloring, and I looked up and I said, I knew he was going to. And then I also remember saying, and I'll have him for 20 more years, maybe a little more, but 20 more years. And then,
oh, wow. Were you exact?
20 years later, he died the day and the night after my 25th birthday.
Oh my God.
Goodness. Oh God, I have the chills from that.
Yeah. So that was a major one. I remember, sort of speaking of chills, my parents took in foster children. I'm not going to tell you their names because, to protect whatever, but they brought in foster children, and one of them had not been kind to me, and I was maybe 10, and I looked at him and I said, you're going to regret that, because one day I will be in film and television, and I will be on TV, and I will live in Hollywood, California. And then I told him something that I regret to this day, but I told him, I said, and you're going to die in a car accident.
Well, you're 10 years old. I mean, 10-year-olds have no filter, really. So.
Right, really. And I said, you're going to die in a car accident, but don't worry, it won't happen, and it won't happen until you're like 25 or whatever. Well, as it went on, it turns out that he was coming home on his motorcycle, and
oh my goodness.
And I went, I asked my mother, I said, did I curse him? She says, no, you didn't, you just saw it. It was just, you had no filter. So that things like that would happen a lot. I sometimes, not always, but sometimes I can look at someone and know exactly when they're going to expire from this realm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere anytime soon, are we?
Well, I am blocking that right now anyway. So, and like I said,
Perfect. So where did you grow up? You said you're from the South.
Well, Southwest Missouri.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So I grew up in a little tiny town. Now, normally, before I do that, before I tell you exactly where, when I was in England, I was ever so much more posh like this because I played Freddie Mercury on occasion, and I was very.
Of course.
And they would say to me, Freddie, whereabouts you from? And I would say, I'm American. And they'd say, oh, you're taking a piss. Where are you really from? And I would go, I'm originally from my mother. And they would go, well, I'm from there. Oh, you're from my mother? Then you're my sister. No, I'm from my mother. But where do you come from? The end of my knob. Yes, but where were you born? In hospital. Yes, but what country? I wasn't born in the country. So I do that. So now, as I'm a little bit more mature, I don't have a problem telling people that I grew up in a small Midwestern town in the very corner of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas, like right in that little, they call it the four states, in a little town near Joplin, Missouri.
Oh,
So,
wow. And now you're in sunny California, but we'll talk more about your beautiful home.
not anymore. We could talk about that later, but I'm not in California anymore.
Oh, look at that.
It's been an adventure. It's been quite an adventure.
Oh, wow. Well, I wish I could travel more and
Mm-hmm.
explore more and get to live in more areas, but we're kind of
stuck where we are.
born and raised here, and now we're stuck, pretty much.
I understand it. Well, maybe you can astral project. That's travel in and of itself.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. So you were saying how your mom was just, like, you would tell your mom and she was just, like, chill with it. Like,
Yeah. Well,
was she, like, is she used to this happening in your family, since you said that it comes from generations and generations?
She was pretty clairvoyant herself. The problem was my mother came from a really bad, broken home. A long time ago now, but she came from a very bad, broken home. And her stepfather, in order to frighten him, she would tell him things that she knew. And he would go, how did you know that? She'd go, I know lots of things. And and she did. But the problem was, back in the 50s, she worked for the Zenith Company, the television and radio tubes manufacturing.
Okay.
And then she worked for Levi's for a little bit, the blue jean brand. And both times people would ask her questions about themselves and about what was going on in their lives and what they were doing. And my mother would say, hold on, let me dream about it. And I'll come back and I'll tell you tomorrow. And then she'd go, well, this is what happened to the dream, blah, 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 blah. And they started calling her the witch. Well, my mother was devoted Christian, and she was afraid that being considered a witch would be blasphemy to God, and it would send her to hell. So she did this sort of no. But she did have, there was a funny thing that had happened to me when I'd come back from Europe. I had some things happen in San Francisco, some supernatural or spirit activity. And I called my mom up and I said, Mother, you know how sometimes you can go into a big city and there's oftentimes a homeless population, and inevitably there is someone who's hooked on drugs or has dementia, and they're screaming at someone that you don't see, and you go, oh, that person is crazy. But I'm thinking maybe there might be someone there that we don't see. And sometimes I see people that I'm pretty certain other people don't see. And she says, oh, don't say that. People will think you're crazy. I said, Mother, look, they already do think I'm crazy.
That's interesting that you say that, because I'm always kind of like, I kind of think that too. Like, you see people that may have multi-personality disorder. I forget the new term for that now, so I apologize. But like stuff where schizophrenic, I'm always kind of like, what if they're really seeing? Like, cause I see stuff, and I've seen stuff since I was young, and I'm like, I don't want to think that I'm crazy.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that with that echelon of people, with the forgotten, oftentimes there is some mental illness, and people who are in that realm, they do have encounters that others don't see. And then still there are others who are addicted to drugs. And, and when you are addicted to drugs, sometimes the veil is lifted to you, and you are seeing things more clearly. In fact, it was a practice of Aleister Crowley to take heroin and cocaine and marijuana and hallucinogenic drugs, and then of course when we go into the 60s with was his name Timothy Leary, practicing with these psychedelics and opening up that third eye, it really does. I mean, even if you look back at witchcraft, where witches were said to fly because they had taken hallucinogenic drugs that had made them feel like they were, and maybe they were. Who knows?
Yeah. There's actually, I forget what town it is, but there's a town a city in South Africa that actually has like a law that witches can't fly above a certain amount, where they have to be above a certain amount of height.
Oh, really? I didn't know
You
that.
haven't seen that?
No, I've never.
It was all over social media. I was like, oh my God. I'm like,
that is so funny.
I forget. I mean, obviously, if you type it in Google, everyone
Yeah, it would
you
come
would
up.
find that, but that just
No, I
reminded
didn't
me
know.
of that. So, of course, since we're new moms, how we formed our podcast.
Yep.
What advice would you give to any parent that might be questioning if their child is clairvoyant, aka me?
Well, that is a very good point. And that is something that I have been asked on numerous occasions. Now, I am not a parent, apparently. I am not a parent, but I have taught children. And the thing is to encourage them and not discourage them.
Yeah.
So when you talk to them and they tell you, "Oh, mommy, there's that man with the funny face again," you go, "Oh, really? What does he look like?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what did he say anything to you?" Or there's ways to sort of get them to open up to you and you can make it natural and say, sometimes people see things, other people don't always see it. So we don't tell everybody. You can tell me because I'm your friend, but sometimes we don't tell your teachers because it scares them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
you can tell
That's
mommy.
good advice.
that is a good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
You want
actually,
them to be comfortable going to you. Your own children.
yeah, and when I was pregnant, we both gave birth in 2020. So
Mhm.
when I was pregnant, a couple of months before I gave birth, I actually had a psychic reading with Patty, who said that my daughter would be intuitive, and I consider myself intuitive, but I never, like, my parents always frowned upon if I ever brought something up to them. So I have no idea
Mhm.
what talent I have, if I do have any, how
Yeah.
that goes. So
No,
I
I
definitely
think
want to know how
you
to encourage my daughter.
It does go through a bloodline, but it makes it a lot easier if you make it a safe space for them to come to you.
Yeah.
So you just let them, ask them in what they color, ask them, ask them about their friends. Sometimes it'll be just a stuffy, sometimes it won't, but communication is essential.
So then I also, we have to get into this because every time we do talk to someone in the professional field, there's like this kind of debate that we kind of see happening, whether demons exist or not. You have some professionals that just state that, how you were when you passed away is
Yeah.
kind of how you're going to be as a ghost,
Yeah,
but they
it
don't
could
really,
be angry, right?
yeah,
An
they don't
angry
really
spirit.
believe in demons. I'm torn on that. I think that there definitely is demonic activity.
I see where people would think it would be demonic activity. I'm a Satanist, but I don't believe in Satan and I don't believe in actual demons. It's kind of, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in angels. I don't believe in Satan. I don't believe in demons because now that's on one hand. On the other hand, in places in Asiatic countries, the demons have a completely different connotation. So in those countries, there are legends and myths and stories and mass sightings of what people consider demons. And they will, one of them, for instance, there is one demon who's a leg. That's all that is. It's just a leg. And it will kick you off your horse as you go by. That's the only purpose it serves.
Gotcha.
Do they exist? I think a lot more exist in the human psyche and I do believe that there are energies that are not positive, for instance, but I do believe that there are, as far as the canonical, all evil encompassing darkness and in league with the literal Satan, no, I don't believe in that.
Okay.
Gotcha. So I know you're familiar because you've been on Ghost Adventures, which we'll get into that. with the demon house. So from your speculation, from what you've observed, if you're even familiar with that case, do you think that that house had all those demons in it, where there were just angry spirits? Because when I went to Vegas and I was in his museum, and I had like one of my worst experiences in that room. It was like terrible because the energy I felt there was like insane from that staircase that he has. What's your take on that?
Well, I do believe that anything can be haunted. Oftentimes, places like theaters are haunted. Churches are oftentimes haunted. Even movie houses, cinemas are haunted.
Yeah, there's
Because
some that are.
anytime there is intense human emotion, it will imprint itself into the materials around you. So when there is someone who has died tragically, oftentimes they will cling to that pain. It's residual, it will cling to that. Sometimes those energies, sometimes, it goes into the wood, it seeps into the pores, and it comes out. So usually it's where there's been intense human emotion.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah. So you obviously became a psychic at some point. That's what you are now. What age did you become a psychic? What age did you decide that this is what you wanted to be and start helping people?
Well,
Like,
it's so fun. I love what I do, and I help people from all over the spectrum, from atheist to Buddhist to Hindu to Christian to Muslim, you name it. I work with all manner of people, and I have always been clairvoyant. I've always seen things. I've always known things, and I didn't really know how to harness it before. So, for instance, I was in Greece and I was drinking and I was having a good time, and I looked over this woman and I said, "Oh, thank you, Mary." And she says, "What do you call me?" And I went, "Mary? Isn't that your name?" She says, "That's my middle name. Why did you call me that?" And I went, "You told me that name, didn't you?" She says, No, I would never say, that's my middle name. Why did you call me that?" I went, "Well, I heard it." She goes, "Well, what else do you know?" And I went, "Oh, that's easy. You work in a restaurant and you are going through a breakup, and sometimes you want to put your head in the fryer."
I mean, the last part sounded like me.
Right? Well, and she burst out crying and she says, "How did you know that nobody knows? Nobody knows." Now I would say, let's talk privately. But I just thought it was common information, right? So I did it for years. I did it for friends, and I did it for parties, and I did, it was just a little thing. It was a little thing I did. It was a side note, right? Well, several years ago now, 4, maybe 3, I don't know. So several years ago, I was the master of ceremonies at the Beadle House, Los Angeles.
Okay.
And they had closed for remodeling, and then other things had dried up, and I went, "I need to have money coming in." And I went, "What?" "Well, you know what? That's okay. It's a good thing that this has happened because it makes me to expand." And I just went onto Facebook and I said, "Hi, everybody. I am now offering readings. I have been doing readings since I was a kid, and I'm running specials. Why not? What have you got to lose? Nothing. Just come and see what I do." So I started doing really well, and then that led me to be on a podcast with my friend Frankie Frank, and that introduced me to Patty, and then that got me on to Ghost Adventures, and then Ghost Adventures led to Jubilee Media, and it's just sort of snowballed from there.
That's awesome.
It is how everything falls. It kind of just all falls
Now
into
it's all
place,
meant to be.
right? It all is meant to be.
Going based on you becoming a psychic, I guess, what advice would you have for those that feel that they are gifted with similar talents such as you, but they don't really know how to expand their knowledge?
Sure. Well, the funny thing is, there are 2 different schools of thought. Okay. There are some people who can sit down and paint a picture and never have been trained in their life. They can paint this beautiful masterpiece, And other people will go, wow, I don't know how you did that. Other people, anyone can learn to draw. It takes practice, and it takes skill, and it takes learning, and it takes watching. And it's harder for some people to sing or to paint or to draw or to play the piano. Any art can be learned. Now, some people are natural at it. It just happens to be that way. So if you are a natural, first and foremost, trust your instinct. Say it. It may sound weird, but it oftentimes will help the person that you are reading for. So I've learned now, even myself, where I've cleansed the cards, I've closed my eyes, I've done my meditation, and then I'll say things like, okay, I'm seeing this really weird thing. I don't know what it means. For instance, I keep seeing bees, and I don't know what that means. Does it mean something to you? And then sometimes the person will go, oh yeah, my grandmother had a bee brooch, or I love bees, or I have a beehive, whatever. So I say, no matter how silly it is, this is what I see. It may not be anything right now for you. It may be something that is down the road, but this is what I'm seeing. And then I go in and I lay out my cards, and I say, trust yourself, trust your intuition. The cards are not magic. They are a tool that you can use to sort of open your storytelling activities. Now, some people who need a little bit more training, they need to know this means this, and this means this, and this means this. Then you have to study it, and you have to read it. And it has to really become your life. You have to digest it. For me, I was a hairdresser for a while, and I hated it, but I was a hairdresser. And my mentor came in and he said to me, you scare me to death. He said, I have been a hairdresser for 30 years, and you do things that scare me. It always looks beautiful, but it scares me that you're able to just pull out a razor and do that, or you will slap some color on and it looks so great. I don't know how you do it. He said, because you really have to know the rules before you can break them, but everything you do looks great. So I don't know what to say. So, and I've been doing my own hair since I was 15, but.
Oh, wow. Well, it looks very good.
It does.
Thank you. Ambidextrous.
There you go.
But it saves on haircuts. It's what I do.
Yeah,
but
seriously.
But anyone can learn any art, but you need to know some of the rules before you can bend them.
That makes sense.
I like that,
Yeah,
Jill.
I do
You gotta
too.
know some of the rules, okay?
Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha. Okay, so of course we have to talk
Oh, yeah, that's your home.
about your beautiful home, but you don't live there anymore in Pasadena, from my understanding. Right?
I don't. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful home. It was built in 1890, and which is old for California.
Old for anyone.
It's old. It's old in the United States. And it was a lovely home. I was dealing with a lot. This has been now 4 or 5 years ago now. 4 years ago, I was dealing with a lot, and my mom was not well. She's again not well, but she was not well in those days. And I thought, well, maybe I'll go back and stay in Southwest Missouri. I don't know. I don't really want to. It's not bad. It's just not for me. I don't, do I want to? I don't know that I want to do that. I don't really want to. But I thought, well, maybe I can. And I started making arrangements to kind of go there. But I made this sort of flippant remark on Facebook. I said, when I get back from visiting my mother, I will live in a Victorian house in Pasadena.
Oh,
it
wow.
was a little flippant. Well, we could talk about manifestations too, because that's a big part of what I do. But my friend Kendall, she writes me and says, oh, I'm moving to Pasadena, and look at this beautiful old house I found. So I lived there, and I decorated it, and it was fabulous. And
you beyond decorated.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hire you for my new. I don't know if my husband will like your taste, but I will.
Well, it's not for everybody, I like to tell people that I decorate an early American funeral home.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to swing with my husband. But I'll take it.
Right?
Maybe you could do our podcast.
There you go, right?
That was absolutely beautifully and stunning. I remember
yes.
watching the episode for the first time. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I want to move in there. I'm like, I want to hire him.
It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was very lovely. Then I thought, no, I think I need to move to, I need to move to New York.
Oh,
And
we're in New York too.
well, I just moved from there too. And I moved from that. I'm now taking care of my friend's beautiful estate here in Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice.
So,
Nice.
and it's a beautiful second empire, a beautiful haunted mansion. It's stunning. Yeah, so it's one of those things. But I moved to New York, and then I went from I was only there for 3 months, and it was beautifully decorated. I wish I could show you the pictures. They're on my Instagram. It was beautifully decorated. It was really stunning. And then 3 months later, my friend said, "Hey, by the way, I need someone who can take care of this estate." And I went, "I can do that."
And I mean, based on from what I can see your background, it looks like you decorated that too, right?
This space is largely mine. Yes.
Oh,
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha. It's
great.
beautiful.
It
Thank
really-
you very much.
So when you put up that post on Facebook that you want to move into a Victorian home, and your friend answered, did you have any idea or any inkling that the house was haunted, or you're just like,
Well,
oh,
I have to admit, I didn't think about it. I didn't care one way or the other.
Yeah.
And the landlord had spoken a little bit about some of the things, and I went, "Oh yeah, maybe." And then I was just busy. Normally, I would come into a space and I would say, "Hello, I'm here. I'm your friend. I'm not going to drive you out. I'm not going to." But I just started moving things in. I didn't even think about it. And I awoke one morning to this rather peculiar Victorian gentleman standing over me, screaming, "What are you doing in here?" And I startled awake, and I went, "Oh, I know who you are. This would have been your study. This is where you." And I said, I apologize. I didn't introduce myself, and I assure you, I mean you no disrespect. I love your home. I am so grateful that I am allowed to live in your beautiful space. Thank you for having me. I am your guest. You are my guest in this modern world. So thank you very much. Well, afterwards, Patty Negri came over for a seance with Father Sebastian. And she says, "Oh, there's this really lovely Victorian gentleman standing right over there, and he really likes you."
aw, you made a friend.
Yeah, so that's sort of how I go into my any space I inhabit. I welcome. I say hello. This is who I am. I mean you no harm. You can stay. I can stay. Let's be friends.
What made you guys conduct that seance? Were you guys just doing that because it was a new home for you, or it was like a Friday night activity?
Just like a Friday night activity. Let's talk to spirits. Why not?
I would love to, but I've thought about contacting them on my own, but I don't think I'm experienced enough for that. I'm not sure.
There are, Patty and I, we approach it in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
We work well together, but
You guys do, yeah.
yeah. So she and we have similar ways of we open. It's different, but it's kind of the same. She's the good witch, and I'm a witch, but a little bit painted as darker. That's okay. That's fine. But we have a similar approach. It's different, but we work well. And she came over. We just did it for fun, and why not?
Oh, no, that's awesome.
So tell us about that seance. Did you guys see anything? Did you guys welcome in something that was scary? Not?
No, nothing really scary in that one. Father Sebastian was curious about Jack Parsons, because Jack Parsons had lived down the street from me. Okay, so we're back, and
We are back.
Episode 2.
It was the spirits, guys. The spirits tried to disconnect us.
Well, it does happen. It happens a lot when I am on calls. Electronics, mechanical things. I always end up my energy gets so high that I end up by by shorting things out. So, you know,
we have to hide our cell phones.
yeah, mine isn't that old, and yet mine is already, it's acting crazy. So I was talking about the second time I got to meet Jack Parsons.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
if you know anything about Jack Parsons, he was an occultist. He was a scientist. He created, he worked for JPL, the Jet Propulsion Labs in Pasadena.
Okay.
A really clever fellow. And he was also friends with L. Ron Hubbard and friends with Aleister Crowley. So he was a Thalemite, as the case were. So I had another seance. This time was with people, they were there to join in, and they were not necessarily my friends, but they were there, and they had no one in mind they really wanted to talk to. And Jack, because he knew me, he was a little shy and to get to know someone, but once he gets to know you, he really is excited, So we said, is there someone who would like to talk to us? And the planchette moved to JP, and the woman to my right goes, JP Morgan? No, I think this one is Jack Parsons. I've spoken to Jack. I said, Jack, what do you want to say? And he spells out CRJ9K. And I went, I have no idea what that is. Sorry, I don't. And the other fellow goes, well, couldn't that be a jet engine or something like CRJ9000? I went, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist. Maybe. So I said, Jack, what would you like to tell me? And he says, BOOK. And I said, yes, Jack. I'm aware I am supposed to be writing a book. Thank you, Jack. You are not the only spirit, living or dead, to tell me. Thank you, Jack. And he spells out H.H. Holmes. And again, the woman to my right goes, the serial killer? And I went, well, I played H.H. Holmes on TV. It was on Elevator, so maybe that's what he's seeing. Maybe I don't know. Maybe. I said, Jack, I don't know what you mean. And he ended up by writing again book, I think, is what he said. And after they left, I did a quick little Google search, and I did CRJ9000, and it was indeed a jet propulsion engine. It was patented after his death, but they were using similar things to his designs. And I went, okay, so that's that. So let's look for Jack Parsons' book, H.H. Holmes. And I came up with, I wish I had it right here with me, I came up with Rocket to the Morgue, which was written in 1940, I think it was 45, 43. And it was this sort of detective story about this closed door murder mystery. And the author was named Anthony Boucher, but his pen name was H.H. Holmes.
Okay.
And in this book, they go to Pasadena and meet this rocket scientist, which of course is Jack Parsons, of course.
Yes.
And while they're trying to solve this murder attempt, which later goes into be a murder, he's asking all of these science fiction writers, L. Ron Hubbard. He's asking all of these writers, and the chief, L. Ron Hubbard, tells him, he says, "Oh, by the way," he says, we belong to a society called the Manana Society. We're literalists. We see the future.
Oh, wow.
And so it's the things about tomorrow, but also because someone will come in and say, I've got a great idea for a book. And they'll go, oh, yeah? When are you going to write it? Tomorrow? Manana?
That's funny. I like that one.
I like that.
Yeah, it was Jack going, you going to write that tomorrow?
Well, he got you there.
That he did.
He did. I'm working on it slowly, but I'm working on it.
Hey,
Slowly
there you
but
go.
surely, right?
Better late than never.
Exactly.
It's a little bit of magic. It is my autobiography, and it is a self-help book. I mean, it's all kinds of things. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's about me.
Yeah, we can't wait to read it.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Thank you. I did want to tell you about some manifesting, though.
Yes.
Because that is, I feel like, everyone could benefit from manifestation.
Absolutely. I'm big on manifestation. And I tell everybody, and some people believe me, some people don't, but everything that I have in my life, I've manifested.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything.
So I was living in LA at the time. I had now my car. Now I have a classic car named Mr. Satan. But before I had a classic car it was based on a Volkswagen, but it was one of those Frankensteins that have been chopped and put together. That car was named Gloria, and it had an angel on the front of it, but which was funny. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I was driving down Santa Monica Boulevard, feeling sorry for myself that I hadn't accomplished anything and that I hadn't done anything, and the universe, whatever those energies are, said to me, I thought you said this car was going to make you happy, doesn't it? And I went, yes, it does. Forgive me. I do love this car. And the voice said, well, you did manifest it. You asked for this car down to the dollar and down to its color. And look at that fellow getting on that bus right there. He's getting on that bus because he doesn't have a place to sleep, much less a fine car like you have. Now, where do you live? And I happen to be driving by my apartment. I said, right there. So remember when you said, I will live here, and you do, and then you asked for Victorian furniture that was French Revival, and you found it, and then you wanted, all of these things. And yeah, she says, remember how you said when you were a kid that you were going to travel and that you were going to be treated like a rock star and you were going to live in London? Well, you weren't dying in London when you were there. You were living, number one. Number two, when you were there, they treated you like Freddie Mercury, who was a rock star.
Oh, wow.
And I went, crap. I said, that's not what I meant. She says, but it's what you asked for. And at the time, I was known in those days for playing Willy Wonka at candy stores and events and all kinds of things. I was Willy Wonka. And she says, remember when you were a child and you said that you were going to wear a custom three-piece suit every day and that you were going to wear a top hat and carry a cane and people were going to take your picture and give you lots of money? I said, that's not what I meant. She said, it's exactly what you asked for.
Oh my
So she went down this list of things that I had accomplished. And I said, okay. But you created this. So tell me, she says, what do you want? And I, trying to outsmart whatever is out there, whether it's my higher self or whatever is out there, it doesn't matter what the name is. But I'm trying to fool this energy. And I said, I just want to be able to take care of myself. And she says, she laughed and said, you do take care of yourself? Nobody pays your bills but you. What do you want? And I went, oh, crap. Okay. You want me to ask for more? Okay. I know. I want to be an actor. Yeah, I want to be an actor. She says, you're not Willy Wonka. You're not Freddie Mercury, and you put these costumes on and you do that. And you also have been, I said, but film and television, she says. Arrested Development, Modern Family, The Bean Apartment 23, America's Next Top Model. Is that not film? Oh, also you were in Saving Mr. Banks, and you were in all of the, and I went, that's not what I meant. She said, but it's what you asked for. I said, okay. She said, what do you want? I said, fine. I know what I want. I want to be, fame. If I'm famous, that will lead to other things that'll open doors. That'll give me what I want. She says, you don't think you're famous? She says, every single day, hundreds of people take your picture. And do you know anyone that is as famous as you who is not an A-list celebrity or a politician? There is someone in every major city, in every state, in every country, on every continent on the planet that has your picture and they wish you well. Is that not fame?
Jeez.
You can't win with this one.
I know you can't.
Well, and I said, no, you're right. She says, so what do you want? And I went, I don't know. She says, well, if you don't know, I don't know. And if I don't know, I cannot help you. And until you know what you want, well, I'm here when you figure it out. And it was basically, she was telling me, the energy was telling me, you have created this, but ask for what you want, but be specific.
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
definitely.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do too.
Can you send that entity over our way?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think that entity is everywhere, really. I mean, that's my thought,
Yeah, of course.
No, that is. It's amazing.
So, of course, I mean, was this before you were on Ghost Adventures? Because we definitely have to discuss that.
It was before Ghost Adventures. It was
Okay.
before I moved into the Pasadena house.
Gotcha,
It was
gotcha,
before I
gotcha.
was. It was before I was doing psychic work as a profession.
Oh.
Oh,
look at
wow.
that.
Okay. That's definitely interesting.
That is.
So what I have to ask you though, what led this house to be on Ghost Adventures? Just
Well, you know what?
so that
I'm
get
very
on the
good.
radar.
After the paranormal podcast I was with on with my friend, and Patty was the guest, and we hit it off greatly. We were lovely together, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and we said, "I love you." We both, I love this woman, I love this man, I love you, and so the team had come to Patty, and they said, "Patty, we've had some places that were not high end. We've had places that may not have had some real paranormal activity." Because there was one place in particular. It's all real, but this one place was not haunted at all. It was just not.
Yeah.
And,
Nothing happened.
nothing happened. It was sort of not high end. And they said, "We need some place that is beautiful and haunted." And she said, "Do I know the place and the guy for you?" So they came into they asked me if I wanted to be on the show, and I said, "Sure, let's do it."
That's awesome.
That is. So Patty, that's how it all. Yeah. Patty came through. She's great.
Do you think that it made the activity spike even more?
Well, I mean,
after.
I didn't really have any issues. I had always learned to kind of. The thing is, on the show, and this is one of the funny things about the show. So they had interviewed me. They asked me then, "Hey, can you do us a seance?" And I went, "Sure, why not? Let's do it." And so they go in the other room, and they're doing their EVP sessions, and I'm preparing myself for the seance. And I have my rum on my table, and I'm meditating and focusing my energy. And they pick up an EVP that says, "Take a drink." And Zach goes, "Take a drink of what?" And I'm in the other room, and I'm going, "No."
That's so funny.
So we come into the seance, and we sit down, and I say, "And now we take a drink." And Zach goes, "Oh, take a drink? It's confirmation." And I went, "Yeah." Of course it is.
Aw, that's so funny.
That is.
But he one thing that got my attention on the episode was that Zach said that he felt that your home at the time was a portal. Do you agree on that? Like,
oh, absolutely.
How do you sleep at night with that?
Yeah.
It's not so difficult. Really, the way that I view older homes especially can be portals. The funny thing about Victorian homes is that they were built haunted.
Okay.
When you look at their towers and their turrets and the high ceilings and then the limestone and in the plaster and the woods, oftentimes these homes were built haunted from the beginning. Mm-hmm. It was in the 19th century. There was a vast occultism that was rising, and where the people who inhabited these homes may or may not have been into the occult or been into the paranormal.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the designers were.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense why they're eerie.
Yeah. There you go.
But beautiful, though.
Yes, exactly.
They are beautiful. They can be really haunted and really fun and really fabulous. And then also it's the Victorians, they were obsessed with death. So
Yeah.
you would have in 1959, Shirley Jackson's book, The Haunting of Hill House, which became later on The Haunting in 1960, The Haunting in 1999, and then the new series, The Haunting. I think it's The Haunting of Hill House, was also inspired by that 1999 novel. But Shirley Jackson says that this Victorian house, it was solid. It had stood for over 100 years, and it would probably stand for 100 more. But the Victorians were very strange people, because you would have inside rooms that had no light. There were no windows, and you would have the rooms that did have windows would have stained glass windows and shutters and velvet drapes, and those that didn't have, beyond that, were verandas and covered porches, and there were brushes, shrubs, and things, and it was dark and it was scary, and it was just the way the Victorians did things, because
Yeah, that was definitely a creepy era, but it was
definitely
creepy but beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of character.
Yeah.
Yep.
well, and then also
Characters, yeah.
the aesthetic of the aesthetic movement of the Victorian era, it was more is more. They wanted
on that one.
they wanted to show their wealth, and then they would draw the drapes, because the sun would fade tapestries and paintings and things. So it was Victorian homes were already built to be haunted.
Okay.
That makes sense. I never heard that one, so that's definitely interesting.
It is very interesting.
Well, there in Los Angeles, there is the Bradbury Building, and there's a very special story about the Bradbury Building. You would have seen that one in Blade Runner. It's been in a lot of movies, but it was especially famous for Blade Runner. And that building was built through a seance.
Oh my gosh.
It was this man had died. He was an architect. His brother was also an architect. They did a seance, and his brother dictated in the seance the plans for the Bradbury Building.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I have to look into that.
And then the Winchester rifle.
Yeah,
Winchester
that story I'm familiar on.
Yeah,
Sure.
so it was haunted from the beginning. So it was just the Victorians were haunted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, now
Makes sense thinking about, especially with the Winchester House, which is definitely a place I want to visit. Have you been?
I went once. I didn't get to go inside.
Okay.
I was visiting with a friend. I was living in San Francisco, and I came down, and the funny thing is, my friend didn't even put two and two together that it was the Winchester rifles. And then she went, "Why are all of these guns around?" Oh, right. Winchester rifles, of course. And she says, "Well, right now it's like $50 to get in. Can we just go to lunch instead?" And I went, "Sure, why not?" I'll come back. And then I moved.
You'll make it back one day.
Exactly.
Maybe I will. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Richard-Lael. We had a great time interviewing you.
This was awesome.
Yeah, seriously, it was so much fun.
It was.
I am so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you. I learned so much more. I can't
all
wait to tell everyone to listen, especially with the manifestation, because no one believes me when I just drill that into their head. So it'll definitely be interesting to hear it from you, a professional.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. And you can find me too on I'm everywhere. You can either look for Richard-Lael Lillard, and there's a lot of L's, I know, or you can just find The Gentleman Psychic, thegentlemanpsychic.com. You could find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of the above, The Gentleman Psychic.
Yes, and to our audience, I will include all of Richard-Lael's information on our posts announcing this episode. That way you can find everything easily and book a reading with him. I know I want to book a reading soon, which I'll talk about as soon as we were done recording, because I'm like dying to have a reading. But the energy is so warm, guys. He's great. I hope you all just go ahead and reach out to him, because
this was a good time.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good time. His energy is great, and I just feel like you can't ask for more.
Mm-hmm.
From a psychic.
I totally
especially
agree.
talking, personal information.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Thank you much.
Yep.
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.